aboard. This is Maritime Viewpoints on Marino World Online. I am Lynn Bacani. Joining us is Chief Engineer ALFREDO HABOC, member of the Maritime Curriculum Review Committee of the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, and member of the STCW Advisory Council of the Maritime Industry Authority, or MARINA. Welcome to the program, Sir Fred.
Yes, Lynn, good evening and maraming salamat sa pag-imbita sa akin dito. At ako'y nagsasabing mabuhay sa lahat ng ating mga marino na nasa dagat at pati na rin nasa lupa at ang ating other stakeholders ng maritime industry, ang ating mga schools, ang ating training centers at lahat ng instructors and evaluators at sa ating kasamahan sa Marina at sa CHED.
And of course, because of your expertise and extensive experience, for sure, we will have a very insightful discussion with you tonight. So please, Sir Fred, please help us understand muna ano yung role mo as a member of this CHED Maritime Curriculum Review Committee. And at the same time, Advisory Council of Marina.
Well, at the moment, as a member ng Maritime Curriculum Review Committee of CHED, kami ang grupo na siyang nagre-review ng mga na-design na curriculum ng ating BSMT and BS Marie program. In fact, it's not only reviewing, but also in tandem with the technical committee members of CHED, we are together advising CHED on the different issues on the implementation of STCW for maritime higher education institutions.
And last week, Marina presented its draft circular on the guidelines for the onboard training of cadets on the Philippine registered ships engaged in domestic shipping. At medyo talagang umaatikabong mga discussion yon, I was there, observing. So marami pa rin talagang issues, at karamihan yun pa rin, engineer. And ito yung pinaka-highlight na take note ko doon. Yung sinabi ni Admiral Empedrad na Marina is now contemplating on reducing the duration of the required onboard training, or OBT, of cadets in maritime bachelor's degrees. How do you react to this?
Well, as member ng ating Marina STCW Advisory Council, kami nagpapasalamat sa pangunguna ng ating Marine Administrator, Bobby Empedrad, and of course ang ating STCW Executive Director, Vice Admiral Rene Medina, sa kanilang pagtataguyod na mapaayos ang pagpapatupad ng STCW dito sa Pilipinas. At tayo ay nagpapasalamat din sa ating mga kasamahan sa ating merchant marine deck and engine officers sa pagtataguyod na mapaayos ang ating implementation ng STCW. With regards to that discussion last week, I think magandang layunin, Pero we have to remember that at this time, we still have the Republic Act 8544, wherein that is what you call domestication of the STCW. So from the STCW, gumawa ng law Pilipinas under the PRC pa during that time, how to implement STCW. And unfortunately, the OBT, which is a 12-month sea service for cadets position and 36 months for ratings position, is still there for you to graduate as BSMT or BS Marie. So, hindi ka po pwedeng ma-endorse for graduation sa BSMT or BS Marie kung hindi mo makukuha ang requirement na yan. Kaya shortening the OBT is a good recommendation, but not at this time. Kung baga sa horse race, Why do we change the laws of the game o the rules of the game sa midst of the race, ano? So hindi po pwedeng baguhin natin ang ating mga patakaran, lalo na ngayon na since 2006 we have been addressing the requirement ng STCW through the EMSA evaluation or inspection, and we have been complying. Hindi natin we ensure that EMSA is also accepting our recommendation, and changing that OBT, I think that's a big mistake at this time, no? So yun ang isang malaking pagpalaisipan kung bakit natin gagalawin yan na hindi naman suportado ng isang Republic Act.
Pero klaro din na hindi naman talaga, kahit hindi naman 1-year sea service na pwedeng mag-graduate sana, graduate ang ating mga kadete.
Well, dalawang bagay yan, ha? Mag-graduate at kumuha ng COC. Magkaibang area yan, magkaibang specific requirement yan. Ako, personally, kung ang pag-uusapan natin ay graduation sa BSMT, BSMRE, posible yan na kanilang sinasabi. Even yung being recommended ng ating PAMI President, si SAR, Maglikmot, agree din ako doon. Pero sa ngayon, hindi po pwede yon. That's a long shot. STCW provisions, mandatory provisions, ay kailangan natin ipatupad, not to interpret. There are provisions of STCW that are mandatory and not to be interpreted. What the administration can do is to implement. There are provisions of STCW that can be interpreted pabor sa ating mga marino. Dalawang bagay yan. Kaya nga, personally, ang aking recommendation palagi, sinasabi ko noon pa, there are some provisions of the STCW which should be interpreted pabor sa ating mga marino. Pero sa issuance ng ating mga circulars ay hindi ganun ang nangyari. Nagpapahirap, no? So, pero dapat mapili natin ano yun? Anong provision yun na mandatory? Ano yung provision na hindi mandatory and can be subjected to interpretation ng Maritime Administration. Maliwanag ang posisyon ng IMO dyan, ano? Well, fortunately, I've been part of the delegation of the Philippines from the start of the comprehensive review of STCW until 2019, pre-pandemic. At wala akong absent doon sa every year. And the position of IMO is they do not want to put a unified interpretation doon sa some provisions. But doon sa mandatory, it is a requirement to implement.
So, ano lang yung doable muna ngayon?
Well, ang doable ngayon, how to shorten the sea service requirement. Sa BSMRE, yes. Kasi doon sa provision ng STCW, sa BSMRE, ay pwedeng combination of 6 months sea service and 6 months workshop skills. This is one area which I also followed up. What is now the status of the workshop skills, where in fact meron na tayong circular dyan sa Marina, ay sa CHED, I mean, and also we have schools who submitted application to conduct workshop skills, but until this time, they were not yet inspected by the administration. That's CHED and Marina. So I think sa marine engineering that is feasible under the STCW, but for BSMT, sorry, it's still 12 months or 36 months.
So mukhang talagang long way to go pa, no?
Yeah.
Dito sa reform na inaasam natin for the onboard training of our cadets, kasi ito talaga yung problema ng ating mga kadete, no? Yung future nila ay nakasalalay dito. Yan ang laging problema, kulang sa onboard training kaya hindi makagraduate. And engineer, meron tayong 211 and 31.
Yes, that is the curriculum based on the programs of study ng bawat institution, schools, ay pwede silang 211, pwedeng 31. Like PMMA, for so long it's 211, and I graduated from that program of study 211. For MAP, they have 31, they have 211, so they have a combination. And so far, most of the schools, if not all, private institution, aside from the mentioned school, ay talagang 3-1 sila through ang kanyang program of study. That means 3 years classroom instruction, they completed the 3 years classroom instructions before they can have the onboard training phase. That is the shipboard training program, which we call now onboard training, no?
I have heard stories, no, na kulang na lang ng ilang months yung kadete para makagraduate, tinamad na hanggang sa hindi na tumuloy. May mga ganong instances, no, na nakakapanghinayang. Even yung mga malalaking companies na they are really supporting our cadets, na sayang nga naman daw, no, na dapat ay future officer na kaagad, kulang pa. So ano kaya magagawa natin doon para doon sa ilang years na lang na kulang nila or months?
Actually, Lynn, tama yung sinabi mo, no? For so many years, in fact, we've been supporting the cry of our maritime industry na i-consider natin ang 6 months sea service as deck cadet or engine cadet, then yung 6 months kung pwede ratings. Sa totoo lang, ang CHED Marina supported that position, and in one of the circular of CHED, we have that. Kaya lang, nung dumating ang EMSA, napansin nila yan at nagkaroon ng problema. So, sinabi nga nila, hindi po pwede yon. But remember, during the time ng PRC, this is one of the query that PRC asked IMO, what is really the interpretation of the position of maritime student for them to be able to apply the 12-month sea service. In fact, I saw that letter in the reply of IMO. They say that they are not really specifying the position. But what is important are all the task written in the training record book. Structured training program is in place to support that. So, lumalabas na even kung 6 na buwan ka ng kadete, then ang remaining ay maging ratings ka, maging OS ka, maging wiper ka, ay pwede pa rin yun, ano? So, isa yan sa mga issue na dapat talaga maliwanagan. So, because of that EMSA findings, then we change again the circular on that, no? Sa ating PSG, nagbago na naman yan, tinanggal naman yon. At sinasabi ngayon, for you to have that 12-month service, dapat kadete ka talaga under the structured training program, or else you will be on the 36 months as ratings. Ang problema yan dahil sa sinabi mo kanina, nag-6 na buwan na sila na kadete. Ang problema, dahil ang ibang kumpanya, once you return to the ship again, ay ratings na ang binibigay sa dating kadete, no? So doon nagkakaroon ng problema. Samantalang sa ibang countries ay pwede yan because of the structured training program, maliwanag ang kanilang programa diyan. So siguro isa yung issue na dapat mapag-usapang maigi, paano ba ang magiging position ng ating administration diyan kung paano ma-interpret ang provision na yan na hindi naman talagang explicit na sinasabi na ito dapat ang interpretasyon niyan. Kasi hindi nga na-interpret properly yan doon sa STCW, but you can check sa Part B guidance ng sea service requirement na yan. So that is the one that can be subjected to interpretation, which EMSA says no. How about IMO? They say yes. Pero under the mandatory requirement of STCW, remember EMSA is another provision of STCW. Yan ay under Regulation 1/10. And what is Regulation 1/10? This is your recognition of your issued certificate. Let's say the Philippines Marina certificate issued is recognized by EU through EMSA, no? That's the way how they verified. So yun ang part yan. Pero pagdating sa IMO mandatory requirement, which is Regulation 1/8, communication, that's independent evaluation, while Regulation 1/7 is communication of information on how the Philippines implement STCW in full, in complete effect. This is urgent na provision na ito, na dapat ito ang kinukomply muna ng Pilipinas. Sabi nila nga, never mind EMSA first, comply first with the IMO requirement. And this is the Regulation 1/8, independent evaluation, and the Regulation 1/7, communication of information. Ang nagiging problema yan, nakikita natin ngayon, dahil sa totoo lang, hindi pa tapos talaga ang ating mga circulars with regards to the implementation of STCW. In fact, nagdidebate pa tayo sa onboard training na lamang, pinagdidebatehan pa natin ng matindi. So, yun ang mga sitwasyon ngayon. Onboard training is just one part of that, which is also subject to vision. Ang ating OBT policies and procedures for domestic ay meron na, pero draft pa lang yan. Samantalang yung sa international deployment ay meron na tayo, pero it's also under revision. Yung Joint Circular 01 of 2019 ay under revision pa rin yan. At the moment, there are 3 joint circulars that are subject to review. And these are the 3. One is the Joint Circular 01 for the policy standards and guidelines for the BSMT and BSMARI. Kasama din dyan ang OBT for international, saka domestic. Saka meron tayong Joint Circular 02 dati sa monitoring of all maritime schools by CHED and Marina. We have also the Joint Circular for the PSG for the application of new maritime schools who wants to offer BSMT and BSMARI programs. So you include again yung domestic OBT, that's 4, which are very essential sa implementation ng STCW. So sinabi ko na one of our challenge, bakit hindi pa natin matapos-tapos ang communication of information, because all this joint circular should be part of that communication to IMO that, okay, the Philippines is implementing STCW in full in complete effect. Sa ngayon, hindi pa yon. We are not yet on that status. Pag sinabing complete and full effect, ibig sabihin yan, complete na mga circulars natin, and then we are on the implementation na. So, that's aside from the independent evaluation, which should have been done after we ensure that ating implementation is complete in full effect. So, that's where the independent evaluation should come in.
Let's talk about training record book. Na ito rin
Yes.
question ngayon, ano? Kasi tama ba itong TRB na ginagamit sa domestic? Do we need to revise the TRB for our domestic ships para sa training ng ating mga cadets?
Well, Lynn, if you look at it, we don't have to have two standards of STCW training record book, no? The training record book is both for domestic and international. This is the list of tasks na ginagawa ng isang opisyal sa operational level deck and engine. So, these are critical tasks na dapat nagagawa ng ating mga kadete in preparation for their being an operational level deck or engine officer. So, it is true that ang ating mga domestic ay may mga competencies na hindi magagawa yung nakalagay sa TRB, no? But hindi ibig sabihin yun na hindi nagagawin yun. Kaya nga, ang training program should be very comprehensive, structured, that all the tasks ng bawat competence na magagawa that you can do sa domestic, let's maximize that. Then the remaining competencies or tasks under the competencies, then let's do it sa overseas. Kasi meron doon, especially sa navigation, especially sa engine din, na ang domestic natin ay hindi talaga complete ng auxiliary machineries. That's for example, boilers, no? So, boilers, if you look at the domestic ships, ano bang barko ang merong boiler dito sa domestic? Samantala sa international, because you need steam, you need hot water, that's needed. Kailangan talaga sa pag-iinit ng ating mga heavy fuel oil, you need heating. And you cannot use electric for that. That will be very expensive. So, tandaan natin, ang TRB ay isa lang yan. That means both domestic and international should comply with this. Kung hindi kaya ng domestic ship, that means that cadet should board international vessel. Kaya nga, the structured training program is needed how to address these competencies, no? So we say task competence is an aggregation of tasks. Maraming gagawin yan. So sa daming task niyan, ang technical person knows kung alin doon ang critical task na hindi dapat hindi makuha. Dapat makuha talaga yon. So these are the things that I think the Ched and Marina should be able to help bawat institution to identify this, and the TRB itself. This is already a consolidated of those tasks na critical, no? So hindi na tayo mawawala at hindi pwedeng bawasan yan. You can improve if you want to by having guidelines kung paano gagawin. So I think sa akin lang I have no problem with the TRB because we have reviewed that also. It complies with the STCW requirement. If you want to add, to update according to the requirement of the modern ships, pwede rin yun. That could be an additional thing, no? But remember, the STCW per se, ito lang ang mga nabanggit. Kaya nga, it's high time also that the STCW has to have again a comprehensive review. Dahil naiwanan ng panahon that the competence requirement of the 21st century na siyang kailangan na rin nating ilagay, wala doon. Kaya nga the ICS, other government are trying to push for the comprehensive review because of this updates sa ating shipping, no? So I think that's clear na TRB is mandatory. One standard.
Let's discuss more on the salient points of the proposed guidelines for the onboard training of cadets on the Philippine registered ships engaged in domestic shipping. Sir Fred will just take this quick break. Maritime Viewpoints will be right back.
What if I tell you that KSIM Connect has become a reality? It is the cloud-based ecosystem for maritime education and training, where Kongsberg provides simulation and services to all members. As an instructor, my main goal is to educate and train seafarers to acquire skills promoting safety, sustainability, and efficiency at sea. At KSIM Connect, I can efficiently manage my simulators, my exercises, and my students. In the exercise archive, I can store my library of exercises, and if I want, collaborate and share them with my colleagues or others in the global community. KSIM Connect enables me to give students access to cloud simulation, so they can train anytime and anywhere while learning at their own pace. In addition, I can explore the library of models and exercise areas, download or subscribe those that fit the learning objectives. And I can even order spare parts or a service visit if needed. Kongsberg has started to create the future of maritime education and training by creating the community where instructors can find news, explore and download available simulator models, distribute or share exercises that fit the curriculum. Imagine using KSIM Connect to integrate our simulators in the same virtual exercise environment, enabling students to train and interact together. It doesn't matter whether you're in Singapore, Australia, or in the United States. As long as you're online, you are part of the knowledge-sharing community. Kongsberg is shaping the future of maritime education and training by creating the community. Let's continue building this community together for the benefit of ourselves and the entire maritime training industry. Join KSIM Connect today.
Mariana Academy of Maritime Studies. Full STCW assessment for seafarers. One-stop shop. Unique with mapped up bridge. Mariana Academy of Maritime Studies stands firm on its commitment on training and assessment despite challenges of the pandemic.
We're back on the program. You're watching Maritime Viewpoints on Marino World Online. Our guest, Chief Engineer ALFREDO HABOC, Marina STCW Advisory Council member and member of CHED Maritime Curriculum Review Committee. Alright.
Yes.
So Sir Fred, balik tayo dun sa discussion natin. Yung salient points nitong itong proposed guidelines, no, for the onboard training of cadets sa mga Philippine registered ships, particularly, no, sa domestic shipping na medyo inaalmahan din ng ating mga domestic ship owners. Unang-una, yung ratio, no, yung sinasabing yung ilang kadete ang pwede on board the domestic ship, tapos meron silang nire-require na shipboard training officer. What are your thoughts on this, engineer?
Bago ang lahat, Lynn, tayo ay nagpapasalamat sa Marina sa pagtataguyod ng magkakaroon ng ating circular para sa onboard training for domestic ships. For so many years, we don't have this. And this was the subject of controversies and malpractices on the onboard training program. Ito naman ay open na talagang may problema tayo dyan.
Actually, engineer, katatapos lang ng isang online press briefing ng Marina. At yun nga, isa rin ako doon sa talagang eager na malaman, no? Ang sabi ko nga sa kanila, may timetable ba kayo para dito? Kasi ang tagal-tagal ng pinag-uusapan nito, sir, eh. Baka naman mamaya,
Yes.
tapos na yung term ninyo. Eh, hindi pa naayos itong circular na to. Yun lang, yun ang reaction.
Well,
Sana nga maayos.
totoo yan, Lynn, kasi if you look at yung position ng ating different domestic ship owners, iba-iba naman sila, no? In fact, meron man nagsusuporta doon sa pagkuha ng mga kadete, no? But we have also to remember that taking cadets for the onboard training phase is also an additional cost sa operations. At totoo naman yan, binanggit siya ng ating mga kaibigan sa Ship Owners Association, ano? So even sa IMO, there were so many positions submitted to mandate the taking of cadets. But I remember 3 times in every year na meeting sa IMO, sa STCW, ay doon pa lamang sa plenary, no? Binabasa pa lang, hindi nakakaabante. Binabaril agad yan, hindi lumulusot. Why? Because IMO does not want to interfere doon sa issue na yan, sa taking of cadets, because it is a company decision. But as part ng taking care of the competence of the supply of competent seafarers, especially ng ating mga officers, it should also be part of the company policy to support that, no? So isa yan. Kasi ang the philosophy behind is you want competent officers. But if you will not train, you will be part of the group that will be involved in the training of our officers. Mangyayari, magpipirata tayo ng magpipirata, no? So yung mga kumpanya na talagang have a career development program by taking cadets, taking care of them, Then later on, pag tapos na, kukunin ng iba. Bibigyan ng malaking sahod. That's the way some are doing, through that, na hindi naman tama. Pero there should be a compromise on this, na dapat kaya sinasabi ni Bob Empedrad, na we have to talk continuously to arrive on a compromise para magkaroon tayo ng shipboard training program, onboard training program within the domestic, especially dito sa pandemic, So this is high time that we should be able to control the onboard training through our domestic ships, no? But how to do it? Kaya nga nakadalawang public consultation na, hindi pa rin nakikita ang tamang daan papunta doon. So tuloy-tuloy ang usapan hanggang sa magkaroon ng compromise. So yun lang ang nakikita ko, but controlling onboard training program sa domestic is a must. Hindi pwedeng pabayaan yan. And there, I support Marina all the way. But how to do it? Talagang malaking usapan ito. It's really coming up, agreeing to the area where we can agree and setting aside those areas which we do not agree. Pero there must be a common, we must be on a common page on the onboard training of our students sa domestic fleet, because dapat kontrolado natin ito.
I'd like to understand this particular signal feature, no, sa Marina Advisory, the draft, no. The BSMT and BS Mari student cadets undergoing onboard training must be supervised and monitored by qualified officers, at least one officer for every cadet aboard ships in which the approved seagoing service is performed. Supervision and monitoring of student cadets shall be done by deck and engine officers holding management and operational levels licenses. So sila din yung mga officer doon. Hindi to yung kumbaga meron silang i-designate talaga na STO on board. Unless dumami yung cadets na i-intake nila. Ganun ba?
Maganda sa konsepto yan, pero in reality, hindi yan magagawa. Remember, ship owners, ship's operation are there for commercial. It has to be understood na ang ating mga opisyales sa barko ay merong responsibility yan sa operation ng barko. In fact, yung pagkakaroon ng onboard training officer sa barko ay nandoon lang yun sa part ng guidance, Pero sa totoo lang, how to implement, kasi that's additional function sa ating mga opisyales. At ang ratio na sinasabi na yan ay posible lang siguro if you put another officer for that, no? Pero ang dating opisyal as part ng ship manning, to handle that one, I think it will not be feasible. Their priority is the safety of the vessel operation. Magiging secondary lang yan sa mga kadete, no? So in fact, everything stops kung ang safety ng barko is in danger. You can see that. So sa aking, there must be a compromise on that kung paano yan gagawin, no? Hindi madali, pero isa yun na area of discussion. How to operationalize that one? It's easy to put there. Pero let us be realistic. Isulat natin. Paano natin gagawin yan? Who will shoulder the cost ng opisyal na yan? Because you cannot mandate, even sa IMO, you cannot mandate na ang isang opisyal ay magkakaroon ng function ng sa education and training. Well, sa sa ating ISM code, it should there is also a provision wherein if you look at doon sa STCW provision, regulation 1/14 says company's responsibility. Although sa provision ng STCW, hindi mo nakikita yung responsibility na yan talaga. Ang nakikita mo lang doon are more of the safety, familiarization, na responsibility ng kumpanya. Pero pag titingnan mo sa resolution, other document, nasasabi yon, pero hindi doon sa loob ng STCW. Yes, sa ISIM ko nababanggit yan. So, STCW per se, at the moment, hindi sinasabi na ito'y responsibility talaga ng isang kumpanya. Kaya lang nakakabit doon sa resolution. These are the things na dapat pag-usapang maigi, how to operationalize. Kasi maganda ang konsepto no? In fairness to the people behind this sa Marina and others, it's a good position. But the problem is, you cannot control this. Marina has no control on this. And will ship owners take care of the expenses? This is additional expenses. And also, the number of officers on board, the accommodation requirement will be another challenge according to the Maritime Labor Convention. Maraming nakadikit dito So, it's not that easy, but possible.
Actually, yung sinabi mong accommodation, related sa MLC, ang isang issue na hindi pa malinaw, no? Kasi is maritime cadet a seafarer, considered a seafarer, di ba? Kasi yung kanilang mga rights, compared sa international, di ba? We have deck cadet and then engine cadet. So, nasusupervise sila ng maayos doon. But for the domestic trade, anong masasabi mo doon yung sa ganyang situation?
Well, if you look at the definition of seafarer, maliwanag yan sa Maritime Labor Convention. The cadets and even mga ating mga sa hotel, sa cruise ships, they are seafarer, Maliwanag yung definition na yan, kaya nga ang pag-international, wala tayong problema. Bakit? Lahat ng benefits ng ating normal na marino na talagang may mga posisyon na, ay kasama rin sa benefit ang ating mga kadete.
So sa international engineer,
yes.
Jump lang ako, Sa international, meron talaga silang POEA contract.
Yes.
Sa bukod.
Okay.
Okay.
That's correct.
But for this particular sa domestic, kailangan tripartite ba to itong agreement or MOU? Na
normally well, if you look at sa domestic, meron tayong issuance na 129 and 130, domestic and international. In this issuances of DOLE are based on the Maritime Labor Convention. If you look at the provisions there, ay maliwanag na kapag ang kadete ay sumampa, ay talagang part ng training program, parang sa lupa din na may allowances na sila, na nasasabi. Kaya nga dito sa ating domestic sa onboard training program ay doon sa ating draft ay hindi naman masyado maliwanag yan. Ang importante lang doon yung ilan ang ratio na depende sa barko. Dapat ang barko ay accredited ng Marina if that ship will be engaged sa cadetship program. Yan ang maliwanag doon, Saka, whether may allowance sila o wala, depende sa kumpanya yan. But, hindi pwede sila magamit as cheap labor. Okay? So, isang issue yan kasi pag ginamit mo sila as doing the normal work ng isang rating, babayaran mo siya. I know that provision sa DOLE ay siyang nagiging rason kung bakit ayaw din nilang kumuha ng kadete. Kasi kapag nagkaroon ng inspection sa domestic ship through the Maritime Level Convention requirement, which DOLE together with Marina, together with Coast Guard, they are inspecting the vessel, no? O maaaring ang DOLE mismong team will go on board. I-check nila yan. And I know there was a case wherein pag inspection ng DOLE team, they found out na ang mga kadete ron nagtatrabaho ng ratings. So they were mandated to pay the cadets. Kasi checker yung trabaho. So they became cheap labor dyan sa sitwasyon na yan. Ito ang dapat natin titingnan maigi. Ang kadete ay para matuto ng trabaho ng opisyal, no, sa deck saka sa engine. At yung mga trabaho na yan na ginagawa nila minsan ay dapat under the supervision ng another officer. Yun ang maliwanag doon.
Napakaganda sana ng objective, ano, for the
Yes.
shipping companies to develop their own pool of competent and trained seafarers. So kung sana ito yung talagang objective ng lahat, napakaganda ng resulta, ano, engineer. Kaya lang na-abuse ito ng domestic, ano, ng ibang, hindi naman natin nilalahat ng ship owners.
Yes,
Marami naman kasing matitino rin na ship owners natin, ano. So yun lang, nakakalungkot at marami tayong nakukuhang mga complaint, ano, at yung iba nga hindi lang nailalabas but actually alam natin na naabuso, no, yung ating mga safe itong mga kadete natin while on board the domestic ships.
Kaya nga, Lini, it is a very good move for Marina to have this OBT circular. At least we will be able to control the onboard training program under the domestic. Kasi sayang, we can maximize the use of our domestic ships according to what type, cargo siya. Then kung may kulang, then let's find a solution, and that's through international deployment sa international vessel where other competencies or tasks were not done according to the TRB. Yun ang trabaho ng mga onboard training supervisor ng bawat eskwelahan na nakalagay din sa ating PSG yan. So ito dapat minomonitor ng ating mga onboard training supervisor, and they should be able to identify kung ano ang mga task na hindi nagawa at para magawa ng paraan.
Marami ng mga ship owners na talagang kumukuha ng mga kadete on board, especially sa mga international. They have partnered with different maritime schools. But do you think it's enough? And pati kahit isama na natin itong sa mga domestic ships natin, do we need training ship, particularly lang na ititrain lang yung ating mga kadete?
In fact, yes, that could be a very good proposition na it's high time na magkaroon uli ang Pilipinas ng training ship, because before meron, di ba, under NMP. Today we have also training ships as far as we know under the MAAP, no? But to be honest, having a training ship, kung yan ay para lamang sa training talaga, that's very expensive. So kaya nga yung training ship ng Pilipinas noon ay cargo. So it should be well planned na it should be sustainable. Kasi kung hindi, every year there must be some an organization that will subsidize the operation of the ship. It's not that easy. Very expensive yan. Kaya nga ang gobyerno, even if the Philippines will have a training ship, but how will you operate that? Ipa-ship manage mo. Pero how much it will cost? Will the government come up with that budget for ships operation yearly, knowing that the return of that is through having competent seafarers, which means we will have more dollar remittances going to the Philippine coffer. So, but if you will be able to itemize or determine the amount, the money will be coming back to the Philippines, that should be part of a very good comprehensive feasibility study. Kasi it's not that easy, no? So, ang best option nga talaga is to maximize the use of our domestic ships for this very noble project and the domestic OBT.
I think especially doon sa mga passenger vessels kasi sila yung makakapag-meet lang ng requirement doon sa accommodation na para marami silang ma-accommodate na cadets, di ba? Tama ba ako? Kasi do we have a specific category of ship na training ship talaga? Do we have a clear policy doon sa training ship lang na yun lang ang gagawin, mag-train ng kadete? Wala yata, no?
Oh, wala naman. If you look at sa domestics, let's say yung ating mga passenger ships, if you look at that one, yes, merong mga lean months na ang pasahero halos wala. So, pwedeng magamit nga yan. Pero it should be a structured training program. At for passenger ships, still we can maximize the use of that. But the ratio na sinasabi sa circular draft is magkaroon ng isang instructor sa ilang number of students. Pero ang tanong dyan, who will pay for that? Will the students be able to pay for that? Ako, as long as they can comply with the training requirement or the sea service requirement, then students must pay for that. Kasi ganun talaga ang programa, no? Just to be able to graduate. Well, the expenses for shipboard training for the cadets, we are talking about per day for 1 year. Okay? So let's say 360 days. Per day, to the most, sabihin natin, before I'm using domestic, we're paying 500 pesos per day. Yung kulang na 10 araw sa international, we use the domestic ship to supplement and complete the 12 months. No? So, 500 times 300 na lamang pagkano pinag-uusapan natin. At magkano lang ang tuition na binabayad nila, yun ay para sa mga administrative function na ginagawa para sa Marino, para sa kadete. Yun ang purpose ng tuition nila. Pero yung subsistence doon sa training program, wala yun. Ang tanong, yan ang ino-oppose din ng mga maritime institution, ano? Na hindi talaga po pwede. So ang tanong, sino dapat ang babayad? Sa mga komba, dito sa, let's say, sa hospital, sa mga doctor, sa mga nurse, di ba nagbabayad din sila? So, this is the provision which everybody should agree. So, the ship owners, the maritime institution, and Marina and CHED. Paano to handle this one? Para hindi naman malagay sa alanganin ang mga ship owners. Hindi po pwedeng saluhin nila lahat yan. Good for others. Kaya. No? So, it's a matter of compromise. No? Depende sa kumpanya. Kung kaya nila ang dalawang kadete, sabi nila, isang deck, isang engine, yan. We can accommodate that expenses. But if you want to add, that's another thing. Kaya ba natin sa human resource sa barko? Meron man tayong kabina para sa kanila. So, there are so many issues para sa provision na yan.
Kasi sa proposed circular, ang ratio is 1:10, no? So medyo
Actually, 1:10, kanya, kailangan mo dyan parang classroom instructor eh. Na, he will be there.
Sabi, may nag-i-insist na sana ay talagang magkaroon din ng policies for a training ship. Kasi there are na talagang meron na silang na-purchase or meron yung iba, may plano, wala lang guidelines.
Ganito yan, Lynn, to be honest, tanungin mo sila, magkano ba ang sisingilin ninyo? Bottom line, ganun lang yung kasimple. Magkano ang sisingilin ninyo kapag nag-accept kayo ng kadete? Were you able to ask that? To be frank about it, no? Madali lang sabihin, meron na kaming barko, training ship, pero ship's operation needs money. Ito ba'y CSR nila? Hindi. Iyan ang katotohanan. So, i-focus natin ang shipping operation. It is very costly. Lalo na ang barko nila ay 30 years old pa o 20 years old. Lalong expensive yun sa maintenance. No? Kaya, good if they have the proposition. Submit na to Marina para mapag-aralan. At ang bottom line dyan, magkano sisigilin nila? There was already that a project plan that was submitted and I saw that. Imposibleng mabayaran ng kadete yun, yung hinihingi nila. So, sa akin napakaganda, pero operationalize natin, that's a big question. Sana, having a training ship para to be provided by the government, madali lang yun. Maraming donation. Pero how to maintain that is another issue. Baka ibigay sa atin sa Pilipinas, after a year, hindi na tumatakbo. Yun ang katotohanan, no?
So dapat meron pa rin talagang commercial operations, no? So hindi
yes.
Specific lang na training ship dahil talagang hindi kakayanin. At saka kailangan din 'yon dahil para may activities na talagang matuto yung ating mga kadete.
In fairness nagpo-propose yun, that's a very good proposition. I-submit sa Marina and Ched and Marina will be able to evaluate that properly. Kung feasible naman and they will be able to sustain the operation, sana that will be good for everybody.
Kasi meron din naman na familiarization lang, di ba?
Ibang usapan yan.
Ba yun? Kumbaga, pwedeng isama yon sa operation ng training ship para naman kahit papano ay yung gastos nila, di ba?
Ganito, Lynn, matagal na yung kwentong ganyan. And ever since, Ched does not mandate that. That is the commercialization ng ating mga kadete doon sa, ayokong banggitin ang term, para kumita, But do we need that really? Kung hindi naman part ng shipboard training yan? We don't need that. No? Kung familiarization pinag-uusapan, virtual familiarization po pwede. No? In fact, kami sa totoo lang, during my time sa PMMA, every Saturday, Sunday, pumupunta kami sa South Harbor or North Harbor para magbisita ng real ship. That's familiarization. isang graduating cadet ang in charge ng isang grupo. Let's say 10, no? We have different isang deck team, isang engine team. 10-10. Merong outcomes na dapat matupad sa pag-visit na yan. Yun, ginagawa namin yun noon. Itong tunay na familiarization na walang bayad through cooperation lamang ng domestic ship owners at ang ating eskwelahan, and that might be feasible. Kasi hindi ka naman makakadisturbo dun sa operation nila eh. Meron kang bit-bit na instructor na sa amin during the time ay graduating cadet na nanggaling na rin sa barko. Will that be feasible? Pero kung i-offer mo ang barko para sa familiarization at maniningil ka, that for so long, CHED does not support that. In fact, it is not part ng ating PSG sa Joint Circular 01 of 2019. Even dito sa revision ay hindi kasama yan. Kaya yung mga kumpanya na gusto lamang yan ang ibigay, i-serve yan na hindi talaga part ng onboard training phase, ay may problema kayo dyan. Kaya ang pinakamaganda nga, i-submit nyong proposal nyo sa CHED and Marina para for them to evaluate that properly.
Lastly, yung yung sa PMMA, no, meron silang actually pupundohan to ng Republic of France, yung kanilang training ship, no, multi, 84-meter aluminum hull, diesel electric hybrid multi-role training vessel. So dapat ito, ang registration nito, hindi lang as training ship, kailangan may commercial operation sila to sustain. Tama ba ako?
Well, ideally, dapat gano'n, ano? Kaya kasi nga, kapag yan ay hindi kikita, that means every year, pupunduhan niya ng pagdatapos ng programa, ang project na yan, to sustain that operation of that ship, the training ship, ang PMMA ay dapat may allocation na budget para dyan yearly, no? So how much? We do not know. Pero makikita nila yan kasi part ng project pa yan that will be supported for maybe a number of years. I do not know hanggang sa maubos ang funding dyan. Pero once the project is finished, it will be the responsibility of PMMA to get a budget for the operation of that ship. Kung wala silang commercial operation, wala silang kikitain, that means ang gobyerno ng Pilipinas ang magpo-provide niyan. That is an issue. But that is a very good project, and we congratulate our superintendent of that, Superintendent Commodore Butal, for getting that project. And that's a very good project to sustain the pool of competent officers for the Filipino seafarers.
Anyway, PMMA is a state-owned academy, di ba? So,
yes.
Sana, yun nga, mag-invest naman ang ating government para sa future ng ating maritime.
Oo nga.
Napakaraming issues na mabibigat pa rin, lalong-lalo na itong tungkol sa ating shipboard training ng ating mga cadets. Engineer, ano pa yung gusto mong i-emphasize? Please do so.
Well, I think all stakeholders should understand that the STCW implementation is a gargantuan task, no? It is not Marina alone, CHED alone. It's the whole maritime industry should be able to contribute for the complete and implementation of the STCW. We know that Marina and CHED is running after its own timelines, para makomply natin ang international requirement pagdating sa implementation ng STCW. And for our part, as being a member ng STCW Advisory Council and also the CHED Maritime Curriculum Review Committee, and with the support of our mother company PTC and PhilCamSat, in a way, I am able to give the service required in a way for Marina and CHED. And I hope more young merchant marine officers will also give their time to support Marina and CHED para sa successful implementation ng ating quality education and training for the maritime. Yun lang ang hinihingi natin, and all seafarers must be able to understand what is STCW and all other maritime conventions. Hindi lamang tinutulak sila para kunin, but they should be responsible for their career development program. Everybody should understand, everybody should have an edge, everybody should have a competitive advantage so that we can be called as what the PTC says, the seafarers are our global maritime professionals. Being maritime global professionals is not simply being a seafarer addressing the STCW competencies, but being a global maritime professional, you are above to that normal level of competence under STCW. You can be proud to say that I have an edge in all other seafarers. May it be a Filipino or a foreign seafarer. This is because I am a Filipino, I am a seafarer, and I am a global maritime professional. That's all, Lynn, and I hope everybody should strive for that.
And in line with that note, we really need to rethink, revisit, and restructure for more sustainable future. Thank you so much, Sir Fred. Thank you for your time and for sharing your valuable thoughts. Chief Engineer ALFREDO HABOC, member of the Maritime Curriculum Review Committee of the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, and member of the STCW Advisory Council of the Maritime Industry Authority, or MARINA. Thank you for watching Maritime Viewpoints here on Marino World Online. I am Lynn Bacani.